You ever see one of those headlines, right? The one about the average net worth? And for a second, you just feel that little pit in your stomach? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on that number. Let's dive in and see why that feeling you get, it might be totally off base.
We have all been there. You're at that dinner party, things are going great, and then the money talk starts. And you're left just kind of wondering, are we even playing the same game? Are we in the same league? It's a really common anxiety, and honestly, it's fueled by some seriously misleading information.
So, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Are you actually behind? This whole explainer is designed to give you the tools to answer that for yourself, not by comparing you to some made-up phantom number, but by actually understanding what the data is really telling us.
Okay, let's start by just tearing down the illusion itself, because there's a story behind these numbers that you almost never get from a headline, and believe me, it changes absolutely everything.
Here it is. This is the main idea, the core of this entire thing. That number you see, the one they call average wealth, is for most of us basically a work of fiction. It's a statistical quirk that ends up twisting reality instead of showing it.
So how do we see through it? How do we get to the truth? Well, it all comes down to understanding two very simple but very different ideas: the mean and the median. This right here, this is the key.
All right, look, on the left, we've got the mean. This is what everybody calls the average. You just add everyone's wealth up, divide by the number of people. Simple enough. But here's its fatal flaw. It is so easily skewed by the extremes. A few super rich people can pull that number way up. Now on the right, you've got the median. This is the true middle. If you lined up every single person from the poorest to the richest, the median is the person standing smack dab in the center. It gives you a much more honest look at a typical person's situation. To make this crystal clear, let's use a really simple analogy. Some people call it the billionaire in a bar effect. I promise, once you get this, you will never ever look at wealth statistics the same way again. So let's set the scene. Just picture it. A room, 10 regular people in it, nothing out of the ordinary.
Now, let's just say each of these 10 people has a net worth of exactly $100,000. Pretty simple, right? If you do the math and calculate the mean average, it's, you guessed it, 100 grand. In this room, the average actually works. It represents the group perfectly. Everyone feels about right.
But then, the door swings open, and a billionaire, let's just say they have a net worth of $1 billion, strolls in and joins the group.
And boom, look at what just happened. The new mean average net worth just skyrocketed to over $91 million. Suddenly, on paper, every single person in that room is now a multimillionaire.
And this is the whole point. Did anyone else in that room get a single penny richer? Nope, not $1. Their own financial reality is completely unchanged, but the average is telling this wild, crazy story. They've basically become a rounding error. The median, on the other hand, it would still be $100,000. It tells you the real story of the typical person in that room. Okay, so that's a nice little story, but does this kind of thing actually happen in the real world? Oh, you bet it does. Let's look at the actual data and see this effect on a massive national scale. And hey, we're not just making this up. This comes directly from the Federal Reserve and its huge survey of consumer finances. This is pretty much the gold standard for this kind of data. And here it is, the real-world distortion. The mean household wealth in the U.S. is more than 5.5 times higher than the median wealth. That is a gigantic gap, and it's driven entirely by the ultra-wealthy at the very top.
And just to bring this home a little bit, let's look at younger folks. The median, the actual middle, net worth for a household run by someone under 35 is just $39,000. That is the reality for the typical young person starting out. It's a number that is totally invisible in those flashy average wealth headlines.
So, from now on, every single time you see that huge average wealth number in an article, just picture that billionaire walking into the room. It's the exact same thing happening, just stretched out across the entire country.
So, why does any of this matter? Why go through all this math? Because understanding this statistical trick, it's not just a fun fact. It can genuinely change how you think about your own financial journey and, your own well-being. So here are the 4 big things to remember. Number 1, always look for the median, not the mean. That's your realistic benchmark. 2, just be smart about data. Understand how a few outliers can warp the whole picture. 3, and this one is the most important, cut yourself some slack. Stop feeling anxious comparing yourself to a statistical ghost. And 4,
The absolute best person to compare yourself to is you. Measure your progress against where you were last year, not against some flawed national average.
And that really leaves us with one last question to chew on. If we all agree to just throw out this broken idea of average, then what's a better way to measure our own financial progress? Is it about hitting some magic number? Or is it maybe about something else, like progress, security, or just freedom? That's a question worth thinking about.